All right, the dreaded revision. I'm doing all the dreaded stuff first today. Get it out of the way. Make y'all not so worried. Okay, what I've done is I've written a fictitious care plan, but it's a good care plan, so if you guys want to snap a picture of it, freeze frame it, whatever on your computer at home, definitely it's a decent care plan. Very common information on there, okay? And I'll move out of your way when I get through with the video so you can snap pictures. So I've written this care plan, and this is our patient's problem. They had cool bilateral feet and weak pedal pulses. And part of my assignment was to administer heparin and to ambulate them to help fix the problem. When I'm focusing on an outcome, I'm focusing on one of these two things for my outcome. Not both, just one. I'm listing two problems, but then I just narrow it down and say, hey, here's what I'm going to focus on. So I picked the pulses, okay? And I already picked assignments that I'm supposed to do anyway. So that way I'm not like going to get in the room and forget that that's part of my care plan. Because whatever we write on our care plan, we have to do it in the room. We can't just make up stuff. So you don't want to be pulling random interventions. You want to pull something that they already tell you to pull. Okay? So let's say that I go in the room and I'm acting out each grid box. And I'm on my peripheral neurovascular management and I'm doing all my assessments. And when I assess their feet, the pulses are actually strong. They're not bounding and they're not weak, where they told me in report they were weak. And now I'm going, okay, well, I don't have a problem. I got to fix my care plan because I have to actually work towards an outcome. If the outcome's already achieved before I do anything, then it's a risk for it, and we can't do a risk for as a care plan. Are you with me? So I'm sitting there going, whoa, crap, what am I going to do? I start doing all of my assessments. And, because we assess color, temp, cap refill, pulses, movement, sensation. We're looking at all those things. So I'm sitting there going, what else is there? Because I need something to replace this, another sign and symptom, because this one doesn't exist. Okay? And I need to see if this one still works. So let's say that when I start doing my assessment, the bilateral feet are cool, okay, and that they have a little bit of decreased sensation to a couple of toes, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm still going to go through my entire area of care. I'm not saying a word to the examiner yet because I'm going to work through what I'm supposed to do. So with that management, we have to assess, we have to do interventions, and then reassess the situation. So my first assessment, pulses were good, but they have cool extremities and some decreased sensation to the toes, okay? So I know that I've still got two problems, so my care plan's still okay. Now I have to figure out where do I want to go with my outcome, what do I want to do? But I got to do some interventions as well. So before I figure out my outcome, I'm going to go ahead and do my interventions. And I'm going to see if my interventions fix one of those two problems. That makes sense. So I'm not writing anything down. I'm all going with my head right now. I'm still working on that grid box, staying with peripheral neurovascular management. Okay? So now I'm going to do things like provide a blanket. I'm going to ambulate them. I'm going to administer the heparin. I'm going to do all these different interventions based on what my critical elements say I can do. Okay? Then after I do them, then I'm going to go back and reassess those two problems. So the sensation and the temperature, I'm going to reassess. Now, which one do you think would be more likely for us to fix during our short time with the patient? The cool feet. Yeah, I don't think the sensation's going to return instantly. Especially if they've got diabetic neuropathy, we don't know. That sensation may not come back for a minute, if at all. So cool extremities would be the better choice. So in my head, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I did my interventions. Now let me go back and check the temperature to see if we're starting to warm up. It may or may not happen while we're with the patient, and that's okay. You know, sometimes it's just not realistic that we're going to hit it during our PCS. That's okay that you don't hit your goal, as long as you have something to strive and work towards. Okay? All right, so let's say I check and they're still cool, but I could tell that there was a little bit of a difference. So I'm sitting there going, okay, now I got my new care plan in my head. I have to, once I finish that area of care, that grid box, then I look at my examiner while I'm in the room. I look at the examiner and say, I'd like to step out and revise my care plan. And say, you know, since the pulses are present, I'm going to switch up and focus on the temperature of the feet. Okay? Once you do that, you tell the examiner in the room, then you're getting ready to leave the room because you got to go do your revision. So before you leave, you always have to do your safety check with your patient. Bed low lock, side rails up, call light and reach. Ask them if they need anything while you're stepping out. Tell them you'll be back. Okay? Step out. Then you flip to the planning phase form, page 90. You already wrote your care plan prior to going in the room. Now we're going to fill out the middle column. Okay? The only thing we change is the problems that we had to correct. If we didn't change, like one of them was the cool bilateral feet. Were they still cool? Okay, so when we go straight across, number one, we don't put anything because it's the same. We're only changing the boxes that have to be changed. So here, they didn't have weak pedal pulses, correct? Okay, what did they have instead? Decreased sensation to where? To toes. Okay, decreased sensation to toes. So I fill that out because that's changed. So they know that when whatever's filled out on this box, they know that you're replacing the one that's even. They look exactly the same. They look like the same form. So you only change the pertinent things. All right. We don't have to change the NANDA, none of this stuff. The outcome we have to change. We said we were going to focus on temperature. Okay? So the patient will have warm bilateral lower extremities during PCS. So I changed my focus to the cool bilateral feet. I'm going to fix that. You with me? Okay. Now, did I or do I need to change my interventions? I said that I was going to administer heparin, which I did. I said I was going to ambulate, which I did. Will both of those interventions help the patient have warm feet? If I enhance the blood flow by thinning the blood, will that warm the feet? Yes. If I ambulate and enhance the blood flow, will that warm the feet? Yes. So I don't have to change it. If my interventions will move the patient, I don't have to change. But let's say that you're going, well, I think it's a long shot that the heparin's going to do anything with the temperature. Let's say your brain can't wrap around it. What else did we do? A blanket. So if I don't want to use this, if I'm not comfortable with it, I can come over here and add another one. I just replace whichever one my brain's not working with. So I saw you shaking your head back there.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, my union, my job.
But no. You were shaking your head at first about the intervention.
Yeah.
Which intervention did you think wouldn't really work so good?
I was thinking something else. I was thinking maybe if you, like covering the feet. Obviously,
The blanket?
would be good.
Okay, so the
blanket or
heparin was not sitting well with you.
Right.
Okay, so in this situation, if you wanted to change it, you could.
Okay.
Okay, so you would just come over here and say provide blanket. And then it's going to ask you right below there, how is that going to help?
It will keep the body temperature, the heat from escaping, and the body temperature from low.
Okay. Keeps the heat from escaping the body. Okay. So I just filled out only the boxes that are dealing with my situation. Does that make sense? If there's blanks, those blanks are because that didn't change. So a revision should not be scary. Very seldom do you have to completely revise to another care plan. The only time I would ever see that or suspect that would be if your patient's getting discharged, they're getting ready to go home, they're sitting on the side of the bed going, I'm waiting on my ride to get here, then that might be an instant where you have to change the entire care plan. But highly unlikely. And when you're writing your care plan, you're getting a report from your examiner and you're looking in the chart. Well, if you're looking at the last shift, which was 12 hours, look and see what the problems were. And then ask yourself, what's the likelihood that this is going to correct in 12 hours? There's your focus, is what went on, because that's usually things that we focus on for a care plan that we're prioritizing according to Maslow. Those are things that aren't going to be like instantly fixed. Does that make sense? So you're going to have the chart right in front of you when you're writing care plans. You're going to have somebody giving you a report. You can ask questions. So those are things that you want to do, is be thinking critically about what's realistically not going to fix. So then you're probably not going to revise. You're also going to listen for cues. If they say, patient's been refusing to ambulate, I'm like, you think I'm going to put that as an intervention? I'm like, if they're refusing, what are the odds that they're going to walk for me, the student? Highly unlikely. So that's going to be a red flag going, find something else. You see what I'm saying? Those little cues, those subtle cues that they give you should prompt you. But let's say you didn't pick up on the cue and they said patient's been refusing to ambulate. You get in the room and they refuse to ambulate. Fine, no big deal. Find something else that they'll do. And then tell them you need to revise, step out, and fill in that box. It's one change, a minor change. So don't be scared of a revision, okay? Don't be scared that you didn't pick up on the cues. If you do, that's great. But sometimes when you're nervous, your mind just goes blank and you get stuck on stupid and you don't see the obvious that's in front of you. So a revision is not a big deal. And I love the fact that EC has put the planning phase, the revision, and the eval on one form so you can watch the progression of your patient on one paper instead of flipping back and forth like they did with the 21st edition. So this is a good thing that you're able to see it and not flip back and forth. I just want you to understand, in the room, you're going to still work out that area of care. Don't say a word about a revision until you've tried to fix it. Because Excelsior only lets you revise once, you don't want to say, oh, I'm going to provide a blanket, and then the patient goes, I don't want a blanket, I'm having hot flashes. Then you're like, oh, well, I've already said I wanted to revise. Don't do that. That's why you would be like, okay, well, we don't have to do a blanket, let's do something else. How about let's do some point flex exercises? And let's get some movement going to the ankles and feet. You could do that because that's one of your critical elements. Find out what they're going to accept, and then once you do it, then you're like, yes, there's my care plan. Finish out that box, then verbally tell the examiner, I need to step out and revise, and you tell them why you need to revise. Now, right behind the planning phase form is page 91. There's a piece of paper there that at the bottom it's got notes and it says reason for revision. Whatever the reason is that you told them in the room that you're revising, that's what you write there. So you're not having to think up anything fancy. It's like, patient's pulses were strong. However, feet were cool. You know, that's all you put there. That's the reason why I'm revising. If I put heparin, I would say provided a blanket because that's what patient wanted. You know, that's what you put for your reason for revision. Everything you tell them in the room, you're just copying it right there. Okay, so not only are you filling out that middle column, you need to flip to the next page and write the reason. Go ahead and do that while you're out of the room. Because, you know, we always say narrative notes have to be done at the end. So does it have to be written right then? No. But then guess what? That's an open file in your brain. And then when you're running down the hall to write your narrative notes, that's one page that you might skip. You know, it's like while you're on it, you might as well go ahead and write it. Your clock's ticking no matter whether it's done right then or whether it's done at the end. So why not go ahead and write it and then, hey, guess what? My revision's done. I don't have to go back and entertain that at all. Just get it out of the way. It doesn't take that long because you're just writing one, maybe two sentences at the most. Any questions? No? Yes.
So, I know it's a dumb question. If you had written like cool bilateral feet and decreased sensation of toes in the beginning, you wouldn't even have to worry about.
That's right.
revising this.
If this and cool bilateral feet, if I had options to choose from,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of luck of the draw. Which options am I picking? You know? But if a nurse said previously, it's like, well, how previous was the pulses? Was it a 24-hour period versus a 12-hour? You know, it's like I'm going to weigh the odds and look. I'm going to look at the whole 24-hour shift, and I'm going to look to see what transpired and what changed. Because things change every hour. You know, patient could be cranky and in pain, and then 4 hours later they're not. They could be mean to a nurse and then happy with another one. Things change constantly. So I want to look at that whole 24-hour window, and I want to look at closer to my time with the patient, what's been going on the last few hours. Because that's, to me, is going to be a better indicator that that problem's still going to exist. Less of a chance. You still might have to revise. You know, a lot of times they'll put you in a situation where they know that status is changing just to see if you will do a revision and if you understand how to. Okay, so they may do that. So you still have to keep an open mind, but, you know, try to, when you do the revision, do it in the room, step out, and then just go ahead and chart everything on the revision, close it out, be done. Okay? Anything else? All right, then.